Colosseum Federation territory. Mechanical excavation proceeded methodically, carving out pits of varying sizes across the ground. Beneath the endless abyss, the demon god G stood amidst an excavated underground ruin. Yellow sand covered the ground as countless mechanical lifeforms mechanically followed programmed routines, clearing this lost relic of untold ages. The structures had long since collapsed, leaving only fragile remnants that demanded careful handling. The slightest force would shatter them. Demon god G bent down, scooping a handful of fine sand from the ground. White grains trickled through its fingers, leaving only a small stone behind. Though blurred, distinct patterns clearly visible on its surface were not of natural origin. Have we truly arrived too late? Have they too vanished into the river of time? Or perhaps they preceded us, perishing in one cataclysm after another. Suddenly, the demon god G clenched its fist tightly. No! It cannot be. It must not be. Such powerful beings, who once sheltered us, they cannot have perished. But what meaning does our digging hold, after all? We who yearn to excavate the entire Earth have, in truth, only scratched the surface of this planet. Living beings will never destroy this world, only ourselves are doomed to perish. Despair crept into his heart. To human eyes, the excavation project was already monumental and terrifying, yet it had yielded no progress whatsoever. And they could wait no longer. Demon god G rose to his feet as two mechanical lifeforms pushed carts laden with sand and stone past him, mechanically clearing the area. They sought traces of ancient civilizations buried beneath yesterday's sand dunes. Demon god G suddenly called out to one of them. Hey, you! Do you think any of this we're doing actually matters? The mechanical lifeform turned, its vacant gaze fixed upon him. Wrong. The mechanical lifeform's gaze was merely the reflection of light off its image collection device's lens, functionally identical to the reflection from a human lens. System cannot recognize command. Please reissue command. The mechanical entity responded blankly. The demon god G turned away, bored. These mechanical lifeforms possessed no independent thought, they were not truly alive. He was simply too lonely, which was why he sought to converse with them. The demon god G fell silent. He had no one to speak to, nor any purpose. He remained here on standby, following the command of the six-winged sovereign, awaiting the arrival of creatures called humans. Then, present a magnificent spectacle. At that very moment, tens of thousands of meters above, upon the land teeming with mechanical lifeforms, a dark silhouette silently materialized on the ground and swiftly approached the abyss. Like ink merging into an ocean of darkness, it moved downward rapidly, leaving no trace. The demon god G stood somewhat lonely amidst the ruins. Suddenly, a devastatingly sharp attack struck from directly above his head. Like a blade pressed against his skull, a long-forgotten chill surged through him. Alarms for mechanical damage blared frantically within his core system. Without warning, the enemy's appearance triggered an immediate reflex in the demon god G's mechanical body. He retreated swiftly backward. A dark shadow streaked past his face, crashing into the earth and sending a torrent of sand and stone flying into the air. The sandstorm, born from the decay of structures 10,000 years old, surged like a tidal wave. The demon god G knew it, the creatures called humans had arrived. He instantly locked onto the front, and all surrounding mechanical lifeforms flashed red eyes, entering combat mode. Shrill alarms and the crimson glow in their eyes spread throughout the underground realm. Yet, despite scanning the area for a long while, the demon god G detected no signs of life within this space. Suddenly, however, he sensed a shift in the light. He lowered his head to look down and saw a vast shadow suddenly appear beneath him. Not just him, the entire area where the mechanical legion stood was now engulfed by a massive shadow. These shadows suddenly began to writhe like a tide, one protrusion after another gradually rising before coalescing into humanoid forms. They were a group of black-clad humanoid beings, with only two eyes exposed from head to toe. Their eyes were hollow, pitch black, showing no signs of life. Without hesitation, the demon god G raised his right arm. In an instant, his entire limb transformed into a massive gunblade. The large caliber muzzle pointed downward at the ground below. A crimson glow flickered as it unleashed a torrent of immense energy. Boom! The crimson energy cannon slammed into the ground, unleashing a terrifying shockwave that radiated outward from the demon god G's feet. The vast, shroud-like presence contracted rapidly, like an octopus encountering salt water, then soared into the air. This black cloth floated in the sky, billowing like a flag in the wind, gradually coalescing into a towering humanoid form. His attire was nearly identical to those shadow creatures, yet his frame was far more imposing. His face remained uncovered, revealing eyes as sharp as a desert falcon's. The Emperor of the Khitan Empire, codename Caliph, also known as Saladin ibn Abdullah. This sovereign, who ruled over the heart of the Eurasian continent, had led the Assassin's Order he founded after the apocalypse to become a formidable power capable of standing toe-to-toe with neighboring superpowers. Even when facing the oppressive might of the Holy See, he showed no sign of weakness. Exterminate them all. Saladin wasted no words. For him, the only righteous path regarding other civilizations was their complete annihilation. At his command, shadow demons materialized from the darkness and instantly launched assaults against all mechanical life forms. Saladin's ability was named Lord of Shadows, a trait system ability user. He could harvest the souls of fallen assassins from his order, transform them into shadow demons, and summon them from the shadows to fight. Thus, wherever he was, he needed no allies. A single man was an entire legion of elite assassins. Legends about him persisted throughout the Middle East and even Europe. If you were targeted by Saladin, you'd best sleep with your eyes open, for he could crawl out of the shadows at any moment to take your head. The demon god G showed no hesitation toward the sudden opponent before him. His left palm suddenly split open, revealing a pitch-black emitter. An invisible wave of energy radiated outward in all directions. Space shock. Saladin's ability was to transform his body into a two-dimensional shadow, essentially a spatial transformation. His intelligence had long been gathered by the mechanical civilization, so the moment he faced him, the demon god G already knew how to fight. Saladin indeed felt his body trembling. If his shadow-formed body continued to transform into a two-dimensional shadow state, it risked facing irreparable damage. Before he could formulate a countermeasure, a powerful crimson energy cannon erupted from demon god G's left-hand blade. It transformed into a piercing pokong beam that tore through the space between them, reaching Saladin in an instant. Phantom form. Saladin's body reacted with blinding speed. As the leader of the Assassin Order, his combat style prioritized swift, lethal strikes. Speed and stealth were his greatest strengths. He retreated at lightning speed, his form not dissolving into shadow but suddenly swelling outward. A vast black cloak billowed in the air, dispersing like a dark cloud torn apart by the wind. The vast dark cloud took shape mid-air, its scale expanding ever larger until it finally coalesced into a colossal storm cloud over 10 kilometers in diameter. The cloud was pitch black as ink, revealing Saladin's face. He opened his mouth wide, a wave of pitch-black energy coalescing within it before crashing down from the sky toward the demon god G. The demon god G activated his defensive force field to withstand the onslaught, his right-hand gunblade immediately launching a counterattack. At that very moment, dozens of shadow demon warriors closed in on him at breakneck speed. The demon god G's gaze sharpened, yet his attention was already drawn to the colossal cloud mass in the sky. Simultaneously, Saladin's attack arrived. The shadow demon warriors formed a circle. Once close enough, they detonated explosively. Wave after wave of black light surged forth, completely engulfing the space around the demon god G. Saladin's attack also reached the demon god G at that very instant. Yet, in the blink of an eye, a massive pillar of crimson light shot skyward, shattering all the invading black energy. The demon god G raised his head to gaze at the massive black cloud in the sky. Wielding his enormous spear blade, he instantly soared upward, plunging into the dark cloud. I don't know whether to call you brave or foolish. To dare enter my domain. Saladin's voice boomed like thunder. After the demon god G plunged into the dark cloud, flashes of black, thunder-like energy flickered around him, flickering in and out of existence as they gradually formed a sealed cage. Energy level assessment complete. The source of the demon god G had already analyzed Saladin's power. Energy output multiplier increased to 300%. A red energy crystal embedded in his mechanical arms suddenly ignited, emitting a blazing light that pierced through the dense black clouds, radiating in all directions. The Anosen United Federation region. The Europa Alliance's team of mutants appeared here. Their mission objective was to eliminate the Mechanical Legion led by the demon Godrin operating in this area. The Europa Alliance of today was vastly different from its past. With the advent of the apocalypse, numerous former member nations of the Europa Alliance, plagued by internal chaos, had seceded from the alliance. Yet 13 nations remained within its ranks. However, the true power lay with the formidable mutant organization Asgard, led by France and Prussia. For this campaign, they have deployed over half of their formidable mutant forces to this location. Among all mutant units, their strength undoubtedly ranks among the top tier. Strictly speaking, they are on par with the Huashu Kingdom team led by Zhang Yi and the mutant team of Fremons. They may only be surpassed by the Knights of the Round Table, who achieved immense gains by completing the ancient undersea civilization instance. After all, both France and Prussia stand alone as world-class powers. The battle had already erupted. The three leading mutants stood atop a ruin, each observing the enemy forces before them with distinct expressions. As leaders, their primary targets were the enemy's strongest combatant, the demon Godrin, and the colossal mechanical life forms possessing immense destructive capabilities. At the very front of their formation stood a radiant, dazzling presence. Enveloped in gleaming silver armor, he rode an equally armored winged Pegasus whose hooves blazed with searing fire. His luxurious battle attire was forged using the pinnacle of Euro Alliance technology. His right hand gripped a silver lance, its shaft coursing with lightning bolts like silver serpents, radiating a terrifying aura. If you looked closely, you'd see the space around him warped by that immense power. Thus, the other two beside him instinctively kept a considerable distance. The other two companions included a young woman standing only about 5 feet 3 inches, her head of disheveled purple hair cascading wildly. She shouldered a massive silver battle axe. The other was an elegant yet alluring woman clad entirely in crimson, even her hair cascading down to her hips a fiery red. A thick, pungent stench of blood surrounded her. Anyone within 50 meters of her fell victim to this blood-soaked aura, instinctively retreating. These three formed the triumvirate of Asgard. Odin, god of war, Loki, god of mischief, and Hela, goddess of death. On the distant opposite side, the demon Godrin had long awaited their arrival. This demon god appeared in a completely unnatural form. He possessed 6 spider-like legs, a thick and bulky upper body, a massive hand cannon raised in his left hand, and a gigantic sword-shaped weapon in his right. Odin surveyed the enemy before him and suddenly raised his silver spear. The eternal spear, Gungnir, was hurled directly toward the direction of the demon Godrin. In that instant, time seemed to freeze. Every living and non-living thing on the battlefield froze in place, leaving only the eternal spear advancing toward demon Godrin at a constant, unyielding pace. A target locked by the eternal spear would inevitably be pierced. This was a weapon of inescapable law of cause and effect. It would forever trace its path toward its designated target, ceaselessly. The apparent stasis of time was merely an illusion born of its overwhelming speed, as it bore down upon the demon Godrin's chest with an unyielding, inescapable force. Boom! The silver lightning spear collided with the intangible defensive force field, unleashing a violent explosion. Like silver serpents dancing wildly across the sky, the shockwaves swept out in all directions. All surrounding mechanical lifeforms, affected by the electrical current, plunged into chaos and shut down completely. Odin's eternal spear could not be evaded. It had to be forcibly endured with his own strength. This created an opening for Loki and Hela. Loki, shouldering the silver battle axe larger than her own frame, leapt from above and sprinted toward the area where the colossal mechanical lifeform stood. Her speed was unimaginable, and her body, uncovered by any combat suit, revealed two slender, pale legs as she raced across the earth. Boom! The supersized mechanical lifeform's laser cannons formed a vast net ahead, closing in to envelop her. But by this stage of the battle, the various mutant forces had long since mastered the combat patterns of these conventional mechanical lifeforms, developing effective countermeasures against them. Enhancement-type mutants capable of close combat proved the optimal choice for breaking through their defenses. Additionally, countermeasures had been developed against the energy fields generated by their specialized technologies, reactive force fields that significantly weakened their defensive capabilities. Loki, Barrett Thomas, Prussia warrior, a war-crazed madwoman. Her greatest pleasure was dismantling these seemingly formidable yet clumsy war machines with her bare hands. Ha! Her massive battle axe, wielded by arms that appeared slender yet were packed with muscle, deflected the laser cannons of the colossal mechanical lifeforms, redirecting the attacks right back at them. The immense impact didn't make her flinch. Soon, braving the barrage of laser cannons, she closed in on the colossal mechanical lifeforms. Clatter, at close quarters, the colossal mechanical lifeforms struggled to counter such a powerful lone mutant. But they had their own defense, opening their hatches to release swarms of smaller mechanical lifeforms. Like dumplings dropping into boiling water, these mechanical lifeforms pour out from the supersized entities, swarming densely around them to form an army, glaring menacingly as they awaited the enemy. A maniacal grin spread across Loki's face as she let their laser weapons fire upon her body. Yet her garments showed not a single tear. What appeared to be an ordinary black hoodie was actually crafted from the most advanced materials, more expensive than standard combat suits. Boom! Wielding her cross-shaped battle axe, she charged into the mechanical legion's formation like a hurricane, knocking back hundreds of mechanical lifeforms with sheer physical force. On the other flank, as the stench of blood thickened, a vast blood river suddenly spread through the mechanical legion, gradually engulfing their bodies. Death god Hela Louise Andre, once known by another moniker, Bloody Mary. Blood violently dragged the mechanical lifeforms into the river, while white smoke continuously rose from the surface. Even the mass-produced machines forged by the mechanical civilization's advanced technology struggled to withstand the corrosive liquid's assault. Soon, numerous internal components were destroyed, reducing them to piles of scrap metal. Compared to Loki's straightforward, brutal combat style, Hela's approach was better suited for mass destruction. Her form slowly emerged from the blood river. Glancing at the shattered remains of the mechanical lifeforms, she touched her lips with a hint of dissatisfaction. How disappointing. Nothing but tin cans. I can't absorb any blood from them. This truly grieved her, for if facing armies of humans or other carbon-based lifeforms, she could achieve immortality by absorbing their blood, even turning them into her zombie puppets. Alas, against these creatures, her combat effectiveness was severely diminished. The battlefield's most critical zone was naturally reserved for the leaders of both sides. Odin, god of war, wielding the eternal spear, engaged in a long and terrifying battle with the demon Godrin, separated by dozens of kilometers. With advanced electronic equipment, they could both pinpoint each other's locations with precision. For Odin, as long as he could observe the target's presence, the eternal spear would inevitably strike the moment he struck. Unless the eternal spear itself was destroyed. For the defenders, however, the cost of completely nullifying this force demanded a price several times greater. This was not a one-to-one cancellation. The models of the lower-tier demon gods were virtually indistinguishable, differing only in their outward appearance. The 4 higher-tier demon gods are more powerful units, while the 6 demon gods below Jia, Yi, Bing, and Ding possess relatively similar strength. Therefore, their abilities are all-powerful yet singular in nature. Mastering this fact alone can simplify combat for the human faction. After all, as carbon-based lifeforms, humans can employ all manner of cunning strategies. Lower-tier demon gods and mass-produced units, however, fight strictly by pre-programmed protocols. Who is more likely to expose weaknesses is self-evident. Northern Federation territory. Appearing here are the Brahma Alliance's mutant forces. Their presence here grants them a significant advantage, for the Kermit Kingdom's mutant forces, who had advanced before them, had already suffered total casualties. Thus, they faced a force far from its peak condition. This was precisely why they chose this location. Emperor Indra's time prelude could glimpse distant, hazy future trajectories, selecting the optimal adversary for him. Indra was supremely confident. He once believed himself the world's mightiest mutant. When the Brahma mutant forces arrived in Fremons, he was certain they would sweep across other nations with achievements stunning the entire world. Yet as he encountered other mutant forces he'd never faced before, an indescribable emotion began to surface within him. Restlessness, shame, and anger. His heart refused to acknowledge that this world held many mutants whose power matched his own, or even surpassed it. Even as his mind grasped this truth, he refused to accept it. Yet now, the Brahma mutant core could only be considered mid to upper tier among the major human powers and organizations. I will end this battle swiftly to prove my might. The might of Brahma. As he set out, Emperor Indra silently vowed this to himself. Even the weakest kingdom, Kermit, still had 2 epsilon-level beings stationed there. They could at least wear down the Mechanical Legion's strength. Thus, they arrived in this region. Just as they had expected, a fierce battle had recently raged here. The remains of countless mechanical life forms and the corpses of Kermit's mutants littered the ground. Smoke billowed everywhere. Emperor Indra's eyes gleamed brightly, his lips stretching into a wide grin nearly reaching his ears. He commanded the celestial beings behind him, along with the Garuda tribe led by Gao Changkong and the Asura forces led by Asura, level this place to the ground at the fastest pace possible. Fortunately, the mechanical life forms present couldn't understand these words, otherwise, they would surely have cast questioning glances at this group of humans. What kind of courage allowed them to utter such words? With a thunderous roar, Emperor Indra leapt high, barefoot, his dharma of the 3 reincarnations manifesting. Gripping the Vishnu divine bow, he drew and released an arrow. Storms churned in the heavens as he unleashed his power with the majesty of a descending deity. The single arrow instantly multiplied into tens of thousands, piercing toward the mechanical life forms below. The defensive force fields of the mechanical life forms had been specifically targeted, unable to effectively dissipate the energy. Many were pierced clean through, golden arrows sinking deep into their bodies before erupting in violent explosions. With a single strike, Emperor Indra had obliterated thousands of mechanical life forms. Such a magnificent spectacle sent the mutants of Brahma into ecstatic cheers. Woo! Emperor Indra is invincible. Only Gao Changkong and Asura watched this scene with cold eyes, their thoughts on Indra's actions undecided. He was far too proud. In the 3 years since the apocalypse, he had endured endless praise and adulation. He was indeed a rare genius, born with supernatural abilities that advanced at a pace far surpassing ordinary humans. Yet when life flows too smoothly, one struggles to recover from setbacks. This had made him overly eager to prove himself. As commander, Emperor Indra should not have acted so rashly, certainly not by exposing himself to enemy sight merely to demonstrate strength. Sure enough, disturbed by this surge of power, the demon god Gung emerged. He was an android with 6 mechanical arms resembling spider legs protruding from his back. Sensing the immense power of the human in the sky, he raised his right hand, revealing a jet-black firing port in its palm. Mechanical life forms always sought the simplest, most effective means in combat, no room for testing the waters. Thus, this strike represented 100% of his power. Not only him, but the colossal mechanical life forms on the battlefield also began charging their main cannons, targeting Emperor Indra in the sky. Asura glanced at Gao Changkong and said, "It's time for us to intervene. We can't just stand by and watch Emperor Indra get surrounded." Emperor Indra was their main force. Though he enjoyed seeing Indra suffer setbacks, if anything happened to him now, their own survival would be in jeopardy. They had to go help him. Gao Changkong nodded. Understood. Throughout this operation, he had never once volunteered his own suggestions. For both Emperor Indra and Asura harbored reservations about him. Yet Gao Changkong performed admirably. He functioned like a silent, reliable mercenary, diligently executing tasks according to his employer's demands. Moreover, based on his strength, he was merely the third-ranked member of the team. His role was simply to follow the lead of the first and second-ranked members and do his job well. Asura stepped forward, eyes blazing with fury. His bulging, muscular frame erupted with terrifying power, his rage darkening the skies. Roar! Asura, an enhancement-type mutant. His ability, Great Heavenly Mantra, allows him to transform into his water-bearer ability when enraged, unleashing his most ferocious power. Asura charged toward the battlefield, trident in hand, with Gao Changkong and the others following closely behind, joining the fray. Emperor Indra, radiating brilliant light, hovered high in the sky. Demon God Gung and the colossal mechanical life form launched relentless assaults. With a gentle gesture of his left hand, golden supernatural coalesced like liquid into the heavenly exalted parasol. As he unfurled it, the parasol spun at a constant velocity, forming layers of golden energy barriers before him. Multiple powerful assaults reached him in an instant, crashing violently against the heavenly exalted parasol's defenses. Signs of cracking soon appeared in Emperor Indra's defensive layers. He hastily raised his conch shell, sounding a piercing blast. As the conch sound echoed across the heavens, an image of the ocean emerged behind Emperor Indra. Wave upon wave surged forward, forming a barrier that blocked the attacks of the demon god Gung and the colossal mechanical life form. The collision of these two forces sent Indra reeling back a considerable distance. It was only then that Asura and Gao Changkong charged into the fray. Asura proactively engaged the colossal mechanical life form, significantly relieving Emperor Indra's pressure. Emperor Indra breathed a silent sigh of relief, his gaze turning grave as he fixed it upon demon god Gung. Truthfully, during the previous battle, he had already discerned something. The 10 demon gods were fundamentally different from all other mechanical life forms. For they were living beings, truly existing entities possessing souls and self-awareness. The mere fact that they were living beings was sufficient. When Emperor Indra first entered Fremons, he had been genuinely at a loss against the mass-produced machines. His abilities involved tracing and foretelling the actions of humans or living creatures. Yet this power proved ineffective against non-organic entities. However, if the opponent was an organic life form, his abilities could be utilized. Emperor Indra gazed down at the demon god Gung, his smile nearly spilling over his lips. He raised the Vishnu divine bow in his hand, drawing it back to full tension with a dramatic flourish. While this gesture was entirely unnecessary for unleashing his power, he relished the exaggerated display, because it looked cool. Destroy! Whoosh! The golden arrow shot from his hand, vanishing instantly from sight. The next moment, it materialized behind the demon god Gung's head. A crisis warning sounded in the demon god Gung's mind as his body sensed the powerful, devastating force closing in. Attacked from behind, the suit couldn't effectively block the strike. Instead, it boosted its performance to maximum capacity and shifted sharply to the left. The golden arrow exploded against his occipital region just as his core systems began intensive calculations. A golden sun seemed to rise from the earth, enveloping the entire spherical space. The demon god Gung was caught within the range of Vishnu's arrow. The attack, occurring at point-blank range, caught him completely off guard. Though he strained to evade it at the last moment, his body still suffered severe damage. The armor on his shoulder and neck shattered, black debris scattering to the ground. Emperor Indra had briefly clashed with the demon god Jin before, but during that battle, he hadn't fully grasped the true power of these demon gods. Mistaking them for mechanical entities, he hadn't employed his time abilities. Consequently, not much intelligence had been exposed. This particular move wasn't recorded in the database, and demon god Gung was caught off guard. His core processing unit raced, while Emperor Indra, seeing the move succeed, wore a confident smile. Just as I expected. He drew his bow again, aiming at the demon god Gung's position. Suddenly, the demon god Gung's form blurred into an afterimage, coiling like a serpent toward Emperor Indra's location. He had been stationary in that area earlier, which is why he was hit. Therefore, he sought to evade being locked on by moving at high speed. Simultaneously, if Emperor Indra's attack missed, he would use that brief moment to close the distance and launch a counterattack. The rapidly moving demon god Gung resembled a black afterimage. To human eyes, he was merely a dark mist zigzagging through the air. Yet the moment the golden sacred arrow left Emperor Indra's hand, it vanished from his field of vision. The next instant, the arrow materialized directly before the hyper-moving demon god Gung. The golden shaft pointed straight at his forehead. Moving at such extreme speeds, demon god Gung could not evade its impact. He never imagined his own blinding speed could still be locked onto by an attack. Crack! Already airborne, he couldn't halt his momentum. He could only frantically shift direction, desperately trying to move his head away from the arrow's trajectory. In that instant, the golden sacred arrow erupted with terrifying energy. A massive golden sphere expanded mid-air, completely enveloping the demon god Gung within its embrace. A look of maniacal delight spread across Emperor Indra's face, his features contorting into something almost terrifying. I told you, my power is invincible. Not everyone can withstand my abilities like Chaos did. I am the great prophet. Time manipulation, one of the most supreme abilities among all supernatural powers, embodies infinite transformation, elusive unpredictability, and the ability to anticipate an enemy's moves before they strike, leaving opponents utterly defenseless. Had Zhang Yi's the second hand of time not functioned more effectively than Emperor Indra during their life or death struggle, Indra would not have suffered such a humiliating defeat, nor been slain 6 times consecutively within his 7 treasure golden steps. 7 treasure golden steps, Indra's most formidable power. It could only be used 7 times against any individual or organic life form, representing his 7 chances. Each chance allowed him to turn the outcome into reality if he succeeded in killing his enemy. Should he fail, he could choose to return to the battle's starting point upon defeat, rendering all past events illusory. On the body of the demon god Gung, Emperor Indra finally experienced a long-forgotten sense of exhilaration. Yet in the next instant, a crimson beam erupted from the golden light, hurtling straight toward Emperor Indra's position. The beam struck with such suddenness and speed that Emperor Indra hadn't even regained his composure from his triumph before it arrived before him. The crimson beam contained terrifying energy, power potent enough to annihilate him outright. There was no testing of strength, any opening would be exploited with the most ruthless execution. After enduring the might of the golden sacred arrow, the demon god Gung chose to push his energy beyond its limits, igniting his crimson energy crystals for a fatal strike. That terrifying energy possessed the power to dissolve the molecular structure of nearly all matter. Emperor Indra felt a chill run down his spine. His abilities raced to their limits as his 6 arms wielded different divine weapons. In this moment, he pushed beyond his own boundaries, disregarding the toll it would take on his body, unleashing astonishing power. The myriad divine will danced rapidly at his fingertips, the Dharmakank blared, the guardian divine hammer thundered against the heavens, and the heavenly exalted parasol spun ceaselessly, casting down countless light screens. Every means at his disposal to withstand the assault was unleashed. Above the heavens, Emperor Indra beheld the shattered face of the demon god Gung. His body had been pierced multiple times by golden sacred arrows, his skull nearly blown apart, yet he now appeared even more hideously grotesque. The first tier of the 7 treasure golden steps gradually dimmed. On the desolate battlefield, smoke billowed everywhere. The radiation concentration here had now reached terrifying levels. Ordinary people could not approach at all. Otherwise, the powerful energy radiation permeating the air would instantly kill their cells, causing their entire bodies to disintegrate. The earth lay shattered beyond recognition, scorched marks stretching as far as the eye could see. Emperor Indra stood on the earth, his body covered in wounds. Blood flowed down his muscles, pooling into a small puddle on the ground. He gasped for breath, his strength nearly spent, yet a smile played at the corners of his mouth. The 7 treasure golden steps behind him had dimmed by 4 tiers, yet within the 5th realm of reincarnation, he had successfully slain the demon god Gung. Though the cost was devastating, he had nearly been killed himself, it had all been worth it. His right hand clutched an energy source smaller than a fist. Before him lay the shattered remains of demon god Gung, his skull crushed open. Surveying his spoils, Emperor Indra burst into a wild, almost frenzied laughter that echoed skyward. Ha ha ha! The victor is me! Me, Emperor Indra! I am the mightiest! Two celestial beings subordinates approached Emperor Indra, immediately supporting his weakened frame. Celestial Emperor, you have won. This battle shall be etched into the annals of Brahma. All its people will sing of your glorious triumph. Emperor Indra draped his arms over their shoulders, his body now swaying precariously. This battle had been too grueling for him. Without Zhang Yi's impenetrable defenses, he had perished multiple times before discovering countermeasures against the demon god Gung's overwhelming onslaught. Even so, he now bore countless wounds, unable to continue fighting. Celestial Emperor, let us return first. Leave the remnants of this battlefield for the Asura and Garuda tribe to handle. One subordinate suggested. Supported by them, Emperor Indra's body hung limply, utterly exhausted. He lowered his head and spoke slowly, my task is complete. I have slain the demon god Gung. The remaining minions are theirs to deal with. After all, they must prove their worth somehow. The two subordinates immediately answered, yes. They first hoisted the shattered remains of the demon god Gung. Then, one placed his right hand upon Emperor Indra's body, healing his wounds. The other mutant instantly summoned a whirlwind that enveloped all four. They soared into the air and sped off into the distance. Simultaneously, they relayed Emperor Indra's orders to Asura and Gao Changkong. The fierce battle raged on across the battlefield. Though Emperor Indra had defeated the demon god Gung, this vast battlefield still held many formidable foes to contend with. Having received their combat directives, the mechanical lifeforms would, after demon god's demise, act solely according to their final orders. That order was, exterminate all humans. Their eyes glowed crimson. In the final moment before their complete annihilation, they would slaughter every enemy before them at any cost. Even if the humans before them perished, they would seek out any remaining human beings and kill them all. Every unit was in a state of chaotic rampage. Though they now possessed sufficient knowledge of the mechanical life forms and fought less desperately than their first encounter, the battle remained extremely arduous. Gao Changkong and Asura faced four colossal mechanical life forms. A single misstep could mean being struck by their laser cannons, a blow even a black chariot-level mutant would struggle to withstand. After Emperor Indra departed, Asura frowned. Numerous mechanical life forms still required elimination, but as a black charioteer enhancement mutant with an ability index of 26,000 points, he could methodically clear the entire battlefield. Garuda, assist me. Clear the surrounding grunts. Asura commanded Gao Changkong. Gao Changkong smiled and nodded. Yes, Lord Asura. Asura, spear in hand, leapt hundreds of meters skyward, thrusting his trident toward the colossal mechanical life form ahead. It was a battle-type mechanical entity, clad in exceptionally sturdy armor. Facing Asura's direct assault, its cannon mouth erupted with a powerful energy blast. His trident plunged directly toward the cannon's muzzle. The overwhelming energy blast collided with the trident like a raging torrent striking a mountain, instantly diverted and dispersed, inflicting not a single scratch upon Asura. Gao Changkong, accompanied by his subordinates Gu Man and Batu, swept through the surrounding mass-produced units. The golden sacred sword in his hand shone with brilliant light. With a single swing, dozens of units exploded instantly. Gu Man raised her slender, delicate hand, pointing and gesturing in the air. Giant translucent barriers materialized, trapping the mechanical life forms within. Then, parting her cherry lips, she chanted, "Explode." The barriers collapsed, unleashing a force that instantly obliterated the mechanical life forms. Batu followed close behind, shaking a handful of white dice engraved with various symbols. Dozens of mechanical life forms charged toward him. Batu flicked his finger, sending a white ghost-faced die soaring into the air above them. With a downward press of his hand, the die abruptly grew to the size of a small mountain before crashing down. Boom! All the mechanical lifeforms were crushed beneath the dice. After Emperor Indra departed, Asura, Gao Chang Kong, and the others spent over 2 more hours thoroughly clearing the battlefield. It wasn't that they were weak, but these mechanical lifeforms were incredibly tenacious. Unless completely destroyed, they would keep fighting. After this battle, the mutant army suffered heavy losses again. When they first arrived, the 3 major factions had over 100 elite mutants, with even the weakest possessing over 8,000 points of power. Now, however, only about 20 remained alive. Asura wiped the blood from his forehead. He too had sustained injuries in the recent battle, but for a Black Chariot class enhanced type mutant, such wounds were not fatal.